Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Antiquity, and I have something very special for you tonight. A couple of days ago, a gentleman by the name of Lowko had done a live stream where he had coached a couple of players, one of them being this gentleman right here of IndigoStorm. This was actually the second person he had coached in his particular stream. Indigo himself is a Silver League Zerg player, a pretty decent player, but is contracted with Lowko and working with Lowko to do a little bit of coaching and see if he can't get a little bit better. Now, during this particular stream, since I follow Lowko, he had requested for a Silver League Protoss to play against because that was Indigo's biggest weakness. Now, while I myself am not in Silver League, I had offered myself as someone to play against. I am in Bronze League, and Lowko was happy enough to accept me and let me play. So down here in the bottom right, myself, my in-game name being Carrion, and then my opponent up in the top left of Indigo. Openings between us were pretty standard. Lowko had wanted us to play some macro games. Didn't want to do a whole lot of the early rush or early harass, just wanted to see kind of a little bit of the long game. So that's what we had done. Now, during the initial conversation with Lowko before the game had started, one thing that Indigo had pointed out that was one of his bigger weaknesses was Colossus. And now I thought, well, I could do Colossus if I really wanted to, but that's certainly a strategy that he is anticipating and expecting. So I had decided, you know what, I'm not going to do Colossus. That's just a little too easy. I'll do something different, something a little sneakier, see if you can't try and have a counter to this. And we'll find out here in just a little bit if that actually worked. Very simple scouting coming from Indigo. I unfortunately didn't do any type of scouting. Again, still just a Bronze League player. I actually ranked up in Gold once, but that was like 4 years and years ago, back when the game was a lot easier. This time around, it's a little bit more difficult. So pretty standard stuff coming from me. And nothing too out of the ordinary coming from my opponent. Just got the standard spawning pool down, starting to work on the Zergling speed. And then taking the second base. Nothing weird. He was just instructed to, play his usual mechanic and usual style. And I played what little style and gameplay that I actually know. I have a feeling that I certainly feel like I took that second base just a little too late. The timing could be correct, but it just feels like, to me it was certainly coming a little late. My opponent, of course, running across with a couple of Zerglings. I'm not sure why he decided to bring along a drone with him. I wonder what he's going to do. He's going to go back home, so it's just the Zerglings. And they're going to come in and try and poke around and see if they can't spot what I'm trying to do or what I'm going to do. And this is where I'm pretty happy with what I'd actually managed to do. I managed to hold this off pretty well so he couldn't actually come in and see what I was doing. Although he could have taken the run by and just hauled butt behind it. Oh, this time around the only thing he really sees is that I've just taken the second. Just taken the natural. It isn't until about the 5-minute mark I decide what I'm actually going to do and how I'm going to do it and pull it off. One thing, especially seeing this replay a couple of times, one thing I definitely didn't like was the fact that he had this Overlord sitting in my base for so very long, and I know my Mothership core is incredibly late. This should have been out ages ago. But I realized that the Overlord was sitting there, so I'm like, alright, well, let's bring in a Stalker and see if we can't get rid of him. See if I can't pick myself off a free Overlord. I know in this game I had a lot of misplays, and I'm actually kind of surprised with its outcome. There were so many things that I know my timings were so off, a lot of just really bad plays. But my opponent just does so very well. He hit a lot of his injects, he hit a lot of his timings correctly, he had units pumping out at the right time, he was taking, he even got greedy and took the gold expansion. Something that I didn't realize at the time, I'll be honest, I didn't realize that the expansion was sitting right here. I thought my natural third was actually over here, not thinking it was down here a little bit lower. It was at about this time I realized, because I'm starting to bring in the pylon in the back, this is where I wanted to hide the tech that I was going to use for this particular game. And some people might be seeing where I'm actually going with this, so I knew that I needed to keep this blocked off so he didn't see it come in, run into my base and see what I had been planning. And he could have, if he wanted to, he could have taken all those Zerglings and just hauled butt right behind my mineral line and taken a look at what was going down. But he decided to just do an engage that unfortunately didn't turn out all that well for him. He ended up with only a handful of Zerglings left, and most of my army is still standing. But there it is, folks. There was my sneaky little plan. I'm going to bring in a Dark Shrine and start doing Dark Templar. I knew early in the game I would need a whole bunch of gas, so I had taken all 4 gas as fast as possible, so I could start banking that gas as quickly as quickly as I could. One thing my opponent definitely did, and this was something he did receive some teaching about, was when he had that gold, his income was just so much higher than expected. He was sitting at 1,500, and I'm only at 1,100. It's because he had that gold. I didn't take mine until much later, so he started floating just a ton of minerals. I know that was something that he was working on to, especially in this next game that we're going to see here in a minute. Started really working on that, but I managed to keep my mineral counts really pretty low. For a Silver League, though, he did an amazing job. Creep Sped certainly could have lived it better, and I actually think that was one of his after comments of what he was stating that he should have done, was he needed that creep spread to be a little bit better than it was. So my Dark Shrine has finally come in. I know I'm sitting on an absolute ton of gas because I'm going to get ready to do a ton of warp ends. Fortunately, I didn't have the gateways to really kind of support that. Something I kind of wished I had changed. Something I definitely wish I had done a lot sooner was start to get those upgrades a whole lot faster, and definitely get the double forge going rather than just the one. Really start bringing those upgrades. This is where I finally start to realize I'm going to need a few more gateways to actually pull this off. Now I figure I'd grab a couple of Zerbers because, well, if I'm going to pull something sneaky like this, I might as well do it myself. And we'll bring in an Immortal just for good fun. Decided to start taking my third, and he realizes that I'm actually taking my third, but he actually hasn't seen my army composition or what I have planned. I don't even think at this point in time I had any Dark Templar yet. Nope, I haven't even brought him in yet. So he still doesn't know what's coming, because he didn't get any further scouting information on my natural or even on my main. But here we are, folks. There's the Dark Templar that I started to bring in. And it's just going to be DTs after that. Again, for some reason I still sat on just that one little forge. I should have taken another one. I noticed that he actually did end up being supply capped for a good little while. Now, I know he's got a bunch more overlords in production, but I think he might have been supply capped a little longer than he had wanted. I know there were certainly a couple of spots that I ended up being supply capped longer than I wanted to as well. And there we go, bringing in the more DTs. My whole plan was just outfit that army in Dark Templar as much as I could. Dark Templar and Stalkers. Really kind of give him something I can throw him off with. Because again, he had stated that Colossus was his weakness, but I knew Lowko was going to give him some type of tip and trick on how to get past it. So I'm like, well, we don't want to do that. Let's do something a little different. We see my opponent taking his fourth pretty late in the game, I imagine, for a Zerg player. And mind you, I don't play a lot of Zerg, but I imagine for a Zerg player that needs to be a whole lot later. And I was sitting on a slightly increased army count, certainly a higher supply count than myself, and we actually just saw a huge push of stuff. He's sitting at 5 queens, 30 roaches, 1 little Zergling, to my 1 mothership core, 10 stalkers, 1 adept, 1 immortal, and 6 DTs. But something to definitely keep in mind, folks, is that I certainly think my army might be a little bit stronger simply because he has absolutely no detection anywhere on the map. He has no idea that DTs are there or that DTs are coming. He's just got a handful of overlords that he keeps parking here in the back, which I would have done that too. But he doesn't know what's coming, so I feel that my army is definitely in a stronger position than his. It's certainly got the higher tech to it because roaches are pretty simple, but DTs do take a lot of gas. And it's even right around this time that you and I start to float a lot of minerals just because I'm not exactly sure what I want to bring in, and I was really focused on bringing in Dark Templar. I know I brought in this Warp of Zealots just to start dropping money somewhere. And here we go. We see him coming across the map. to what to be a final push as I went back and saw the live stream, and this was about the time frame that Lowko told him to go ahead and push out because we just want to get 10 minutes of gameplay and see how it goes. So he's going to go coming in trying to pick off my third, see if he can't do a little bit of damage. Unknown to him, I might have the smaller army, but I have the slightly stronger army with +1 DTs. And he, again, no detection whatsoever, so my DTs just get in that line and rip it to pieces. He does manage to pick off the one Colossus that I had, one of the Colossus I managed to pull out, but by then damage is already done. My 12 DTs were just wrecked his line. And he had absolutely nothing, so I started to push out myself, and he decided to go ahead and leave the game at that point in time. Ladies and gentlemen, it was just an absolute pleasure to be able to do this with Lowko and his the person he was coaching. I even told Lowko as much. You know, I thanked him over and over and over again for letting me participate in this particular game. I had a lot of fun with it, and it just kind of proved that, you know, it doesn't matter what your skill level is. It's always worth playing the game. You know, I play a handful of games of the latter. You know, I try and get a handful of games done a day. You know, somewhere between, 3 to 5 games. Not a lot. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. And, sometimes you lose them, sometimes you win them, but it's not the point. The point is just to have fun and try new stuff. This was definitely a new strategy that I had tried, but I had an absolute just blast doing it. I had a lot of fun doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you in the next one.